Hello, everyone, and welcome to the workshop entitled Navigating EU Funding Opportunities, part of our EU Landscape series that we organized for the second cohort of startups enrolled in the SNAPIS DIC program. Today's session will be delivered by Virginia Gomez, Head of EU Project at Sploro, and Marta Fernandez, EU Project Manager at Sploro. Sploro is a word in Esperanto that means exploration. They were born as a company with the idea of becoming true explorers of innovation. Their mission is as simple as ambitious. They want to make innovation understandable and reachable for any organization through services and digital technologies. Convinced that digitalization will be the cornerstone building our society in the coming decades, Sploro is a company that with a vocation for service, but digital. This session will begin with Virginia's and Marta presentation on the cascade funding mechanism, as well as some relevant calls closing the near future, and the Q&A session will follow. So please prepare your questions. You can also leave them in the chat, as always, during the presentation, and I will make sure they will be addressed afterwards. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Virginia and Marta. We are glad to have you here and eager to learn more about the cascade funding mechanism. So whenever you're ready, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Denisa. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for us to be here with you today. To the audience, what are their experiences with cascade funding? If someone wants to open the mic and share their experiences and their opinions maybe about cascade funding so that we know where to focus the presentation on. Don't be shy. I know it's early in the morning on a Thursday, but
If anyone wants to share, please. I think everyone is shy.
Everyone is shy. But well, okay, let's move on then, but take the opportunity to ask as many questions as you may have later on. We will try to give an overview of the mechanism first, and then just as Denisa said, some specific calls that may be interesting for you and that are upcoming. I will share my screen and my presentation here. It's in presentation mode now.
1 second. Yes, now it's okay.
Yes? Okay, good. So as Denise already explained, we are an innovation consultancy firm, and our mission is to make innovation understandable for everyone. And we do it through 3 main services that we have. Is from one side, the innovation consulting service, as you may know, of standard consultancy practices on managing and helping companies to access public funds on NNI. We have a strong access on focusing on cascade funding, where we manage funds of European cascade funding calls on 2 ways. We, from one side, we are partners of projects, so we are managing these funds and opening calls for startups like you to access this funding. And on the other hand, we also support companies to access these cascade funding calls from third-party projects. And last but not least, we also have our own product, and we develop internally Chronis, which is an administrative software that supports the administration and justification of European projects. So just immediately going into the topic of today, what the European Commission already not discovered, but got to know a few years ago, is that startups had a special challenge in accessing European funds. It's because it has the Horizon Europe program and previous AIDS 2020 program. It's a high, complex and bureaucratic process, which sometimes only larger institutions with capacity can can really go through that bureaucratic process, as well as the access to fund time is not very much in line with a high-speed development rhythm of a startup. In a standard Horizon Europe projects, it may go from the idea until you really start working on the project. It might elapse up to a year, which is, of course, can be already obsolete for a startup that has been developing in the meantime. It's also very well known the low success rates of Horizon Europe that depending on the topics, they go from 10 to 15%, which also requires a high time investment on this bureaucratic administrative side for afterwards having a very low success rate. So already in 2014, the European Commission put in place a mechanism that is called cascade funding, and they started on calls more focusing on digital, especially DG Connect was the one that was initially taking up this mechanism, and now it has become more and more popular and common, and you can find it also in other clusters and in other programs of the European Commission. So, but what is it, cascade funding? Basically, it's an instrument that the European Commission put in place to make sure that funds go downstream, that small institutions such as startups and SMEs can really get access to these European funds and can develop their technology. It usually has a digital technology focus and a development focus on that. Depending on the call, other type of institutions or entities are also eligible. It can be also accessible for mid-caps, for research institutes, universities, or foundations. So that depends in each of the cascade funding calls. So how does it work? First, the European Commission opens a topic in a standard Horizon Europe program topic, where they indicate that they would like to have this funding for third parties mechanism in place. And there is a consortium that prepares a proposal. That's a standard process of a Horizon Europe, where they explain how they will address the topic and how they will manage this funding for third parties mechanism. The Commission evaluates the proposals received, and there is a winner where they get the fund for managing this funding for third parties. This consortium, at the same time, it is starting their program, and they have to open the calls to fulfill the criteria that the European Commission put in place with the requirements that the European Commission described in that topic. So basically, it's just we are intermediaries of European funds that will go to startups and SMEs in the form of non-refundable grants. And here again, the amounts varies very much per open call. They may go from 30,000 to 300,000. And it might there might be as well a service program delivered to the winners as well. So there are two types of projects that are usually awarded within this cascade funding mechanism. On one side is the one that is awarded for the startup itself, for the development of the company, of the startup. And in other type of calls, they focus on a specific pilot demonstration, for example. There is this consortium that is developing a certain technology or a framework, that they would like to test, and they ask for proposals to do to test that technology that they are developing within the project. So as we want that process to be way more agile than an Horizon Europe program, of course, administrative is way simpler. Starting from the application form, it is a form that to be filled in. Sorry. Thank you. But if there is a question, you can also let us know. So as I was saying, it's a simpler administrative procedure where for the application, it's just a form that you need to fill in a platform or a website. As I said, it's usually technology oriented, either in the development of the startup or in the proof of concept or pilot demonstration of certain technologies developed by the consortium. And they are more focused projects. They have higher success rates. So from our experience, the success rate also varies very much per call, but it can go to up to a 40 or 45%. But it's true that it's a mechanism that is getting more and more known, and the success rates are getting lower as well. Not as low as Horizon Europe, but a bit lower than this 40 or 45%. Like, for example, we are managing a project that is called Woman Tech EU, where we distribute funds to develop deep tech startups led by women. And there we are having a huge success, which means that the success rate it's going below 20% in this case. As I mentioned, when a startup is awarded, this cascade funding also implies that you will receive some services, which are of course free of charge, and these services are focusing on developing your startup, and it can be from mentoring services to business training to some technology training, again depending on the topic. And as I said, of course, last but not least, you receive non-refundable grants. Here in these cascade funding calls, we don't ask for administrative proof of expenditure. They are usually a lump sum, where the amount that you will receive depends on certain KPIs that have been achieved during the implementation of the project. So at the beginning of the implementation of these services, you will define your own KPIs that will be assessed in different periods along the service program, and depending on the percentage of achieved KPIs, you will receive your grants. Also, I wanted to highlight here that administratively is also simpler, because legal documents are only requested to verify your status once you have been pre-selected on that call as a winner. So you don't have to prepare all the administrative documents beforehand, but only in the case that you have been pre-selected as winner. An important step to know is where you can find the open calls. So here at Esploro, we have created a Cascade Funding Hub, where you will receive the presentation later on, so you can find the link here. It's cascadefunding.eu, and then there you can find the list of open calls, not only from the projects that we manage, but also from third-party projects. And you can filter depending on the technology that you are looking for, the domain, the deadline of that call, and also the range of funding. So what is your target funding that you are looking for? Sorry, all these cascade funding calls, they are also published in the official European Commission website. And apologies for the Spanish here. We will translate it before we send the presentation, but here you can find the link to the official European Commission website where all the calls are also published. So I will encourage you to go to this hub and to start surfing on it and looking for open calls that might be of your interest. So I will give you now a short overview of the projects that we are managing. Just to give you also an idea of the diversity of topics that you can find on a Cascade funding call. The first one here on the left is Spades. Yes, thank you, Naomi, for you can find the link on the chat. So Spade is focusing on drone applications to manage agriculture, livestock, and forestry management. So the project is developing a platform, a digital platform, and they are looking for pilots to test that platform within those applications. So the first call, it's now implementing, the first cohort is already implementing their pilots. And the second call will open at the end of February next year, where a little bit more than half of the funds will be available for the second call. So in total, there were 720,000 euros allocated to support third parties, and a little bit more than half will be allocated for the call in March next year. The second project that you see here, it's Foodity. Here we are looking for pilots to actually empower consumers on making nutrition decisions. So they are based on having informative decisions, on using data that is available. And those pilots are demonstrating ways to make accessible those data to consumers so that they can or we can actually take informed decisions about our food of every day. In this case, the two calls are already done, and the second cohort will start the pilot implementation in November, and the total budget distributed will be around 2 million euros. The third project here is NGI Sargasso, Next Generation Internet Sargasso, where the pilots here, the characteristic is that they need to work in collaboration with an entity from United States or Canada to prove or to develop experiments. We call it here the TRL's technology readiness level can be a bit lower than in the previous two projects on the next generation of internet, the human-centric based on trust, decentralized technologies. The broad of sectors or technologies that can be proven here, it's quite broad. The last call is open now and it will close in November. My colleague Marta will give you more details about it later on. So we have also as our fourth project, Pico React, the post-quantum cryptography project, where here I like to say that it's where technology and ethics meet, because they are trying to foster the security and to make demonstrations of post-quantum cryptography for different environments. One of them is energy, smart metering, for example, infrastructure, and 5G and 6G. They are three of the pilots. Here, we just closed the first call. It's right now in evaluation, and there will be a second call opening in mid next year. Another range of projects that we have are the ones focusing on women entrepreneurship. As I mentioned before, we have on one side Empo Women. That's a project that we coordinate. This one is focusing on the development of startups led by women. And the characteristic is that they need to be deep tech startups, so not only using artificial intelligence, but really having some development of their own technology. For Empo Women is focusing on the widening area regions of Europe. Here the second call it's open now, and the total budget that is distributed is 1.5 million. So the big sister of Empo Women is what is our Woman Tech EU project. Here the budget is 12 million euros, where we will open 4 calls on looking for deep tech startups, again, women-led. Here, all countries in Europe and associated countries are eligible. And we are right now evaluating the second call, and the third call will be opening in mid-January next year. In these 2 projects, Empo Women and Woman Tech EU, there is a service program to develop and to help the woman developing their skills as a leader in the company. Now we have a set of projects that are recently started. The first one, Evolve to Care, just started this month, 1st of October. Here we don't deliver funds as such, but we do open calls looking for living labs and innovators in the health sector. So the intention of this project is to do a match between living labs and innovators, so that the innovators can make pilots demonstrations within those living labs. And it will be focusing in 3 use cases: the hospital discharge management, home care monitoring solutions, aging population, and care transitions. So here the calls will be opening next year. The next 2 projects, they have not started yet. They will do it in December this year, most likely. The Photon QBoost is focusing on photonics and quantum SMEs. So it will be looking for SMEs to develop their sustainability and resilience within these fields of photonics and quantum solutions. And the total budget there will be about 3.5 million. And most likely the first call will be opening the second half of this year, but since the project has not started yet, that's still to be decided. This Boost project that you see on the right, it will be focusing in companies that have already been awarded an EIC. So it's called those companies will have access to the booster grants. That's a service that was previously managed by the European Commission directly, and that they have outsourced now to a consortium. And the total budget here is 5 million euros in, as I mentioned, in lump sum grants. And last but not least, we have Open Horizons, also a project that will start end of this year, beginning of next year. Again, focusing on woman-led startups, but with the characteristics that we are involving here large corporations and companies, where they will present their challenges that need to be solved by women-led startups. So there are large institutions such as Siemens and Repsol already involved in this project that will make their challenges known. And they will look for women-led startups to implement the solution. It will also include a fund, a grant of 1,200,000 in total to support the pilot implementations. Is there any question so far?
In the chat, no, but if anyone else has a question, please unmute yourself. I believe not. Or Mircea?
Everything was very clear.
I have two questions, but they are general, so we can leave them for the end.
Okay. Okay, then I give the floor to my colleague Marta, who will be present the most interesting part, which are the specific calls that are upcoming. So Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Denisa, and thank you all of you for being here today. Now the idea is that you can get a general overview of what you can expect from the calls or from the open calls that are available right now. Not all of them, of course, but a small picture of them. So we will start with NGI Sargasso, basically because it will close in a month from today. So as Virginia explained, NGI Sargasso is looking for projects led by an European member state or an associated country in the field of next generation internet. This means that we are looking for SMEs, startups, RTOs, research centers, foundations, or universities that are working or making a research on the fields of NGI. For example, decentralized technologies or internet architecture, etc. All of the project must be in collaboration with an entity from US or Canada. Because we are looking for consortia of 2 or 3 entities. And depending on the length that you select, the projects could be from 3 to 9 months, and you can have up to 100K funding. And also you will receive the support for an on-campus program. Next slide, please. We've been doing some research of you and your fields, and we saw that some of you are interested or working on the farm and food industry. So it's a very good opportunity, the Open Agri. This project is looking for teams again. Well, could be teams or could be only one applicant. Developing digital agricultural solutions in areas with low connectivity of internet. So, as I said, could apply a consortia of 2 teams or just one single applicant. And the deadline is the 2nd of December. Again, the funding here is the same as in Sargasso. But if you are applying in consortia, any of the entities can receive more than 60K. Next slide, please. Now, imagine B5G. This is the focus is kind of related to Sargasso because in Sargasso we are also funding 5G initiatives. Now here, the project basically look for third parties working on the development or testing the 5G solutions that they are developing. In this case, the application is not a consortium call, it's for a single applicant, and they are looking for SMEs or academia people, and the deadline for this is 6th of December. Next slide, please. And now, looking more in a longer way, we also include some open calls for the beginning of 2025. So here again, another farm-related topic is Farmtopia, looking for consortia, made by a provider of digital solutions, and an end user, meaning a farm, a small or medium farms. And this project will fund 9 projects in total, and the whole team will receive 100K. This is very interesting topic because if you are developing, for example, if you are now in the phase of testing or you are doing pilots, this is the perfect project for you because you will have an end user to try it. And the deadline, as I said, it's the beginning of January next year. Please, next slide. This is one of our projects that Virginia already mentioned, Women Tech U. We are offering here 75K for a single organization, and we are looking for deep tech startups led by women. Well, I forgot to tell you, but normally all of the open calls, the eligible applicants are entities based on European member states or Horizon Euro associated countries. So in this sense, this is more or less quite important, but I guess you all are based on these areas. We don't have the deadline for the submission, but will be very soon, as Virginia already mentioned. Please, next slide. And more options in 2025. We have PEC2 React, our open calls managed project looking for post-quantum cryptography. That, to be honest, it's very far from my understanding, but we are looking for SMEs and startups or non-profit organizations, universities, or research centers based in Europe or associated countries from the Horizon Europe. We are distributing a total of 80K, and basically we are looking for the design, develop, or validation frameworks in this area of post-quantum cryptography. Next slide, please. And last but not least, the project Space, that will fund innovative projects using drones for the environmental monitoring or the forest governance. This is a great opportunity for tech companies and the research institutions because drones are not very common now, but for that reason, I think it's a very interesting project. And again, we don't have the deadline for the call, and we are looking for universities, research centers, NGOs, SMEs, and startups. And that's all about the calls that you can apply. Well, as I said, a very small picture of them. And to give you, now that we share all the relevant opportunities, to summarize, I want to give you 5 tips on how to take the advantage of these funding opportunities. Always keep up to date with the grants, and this will only be possible if you are looking for them on the European Commission portal, or if you want to make your life easier, just go into our portal because we offer a summary of all of the open calls available, and then if you need more information, you have all the links to the guidelines or the website of the project. So just keep up to date with the grants, read all the guidelines or all the documents for the call, because maybe you are looking for something in one call that you are not eligible, or in the other way, maybe you think you are not eligible, but when you read the guidelines, for some reason you are eligible for that call, or you need some documents that you are not aware, and in the guidelines are always all the call information. Normally, all the projects with open calls provide info days or info sessions about the call and the project. So this is a very good opportunity to learn more about the project. And if I can tell you here, next week we will have the info day for NGI Sargasso. So if you're interested in the website, you have all the information about the info day. Related to the guidelines, make sure that you are eligible, because if you are not eligible and you prepare all the documentation, you fill the form, basic, and you at the end you are not eligible, you are wasting your time. And finally, submit a solid proposal with clear European dimension, because European Commission it's always looking for this kind of view, not just a regional or a national view, it's more a European dimension. So with these 5 tips, probably you will be more prepared to present a project that will be selected for funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta and Virginia. And I think we have a question in the chat. If you have any questions regarding an open call listed on your website, we have to reach out to Sploro or to the contacts listed on the open call website.
If it's a project that is managed by Sploro, we will be really very happy to answer your question. If not, you can directly contact the consortium that manages that open call. And if you think you will need a third party helping you on with your application, of course, we are happy and very open to help you too.
Thank you. And if anyone else has a question, we do not have any left in the chat, so please unmute yourself and ask it.
Thanks for the presentations and info. We'll have to check them as well on the platform to read more details. But I have a question regarding from the startup perspective. Which do you think are the most challenging things in accessing these programs and running through them for startups? What are the most challenging things? What is most difficult for them? What startups should take care of, because they're very important, especially if they haven't accessed before such funding and they don't know how to deal with it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, for me, the most challenging part is to find the proper call. As Marta said, there are calls opening almost every day. There is really a panoply of opportunities that, first of all, is difficult to have a complete view of. And secondly, there is sometimes this jargon used within the European Commission that you need to get familiar with. So for me, finding the proper call, making sure that you are eligible and that is really the call that will help you and that you need for your next steps is the most challenging part. Maybe Marta has another view or another opinion.
No, actually, for me, it's the same. Know the opportunities, for me, it's the main challenge, because sometimes when you are in a startup or an SMEs, probably you have a lot of things to do in your daily work. So you don't have time to look for that opportunities, because it's very time consuming. Look into the funding and tenders portal, which call it's open, to which one I am applicable or not, if I have to look for a partner to apply. So this is the most challenging part. If you have any kind of solution where you can find the opportunities and filter them, like I'm an SME or a startup, I am looking for this kind of project or this kind of area of technology, I think it's the best way to achieve that challenges.
Yeah, and to complete that, we also have a mailing list service where we send via email the calls that are opening. And we receive an email every day, but at least you have it also in your inbox, and you can very quickly see if it's fitting your sector and your technology. It's another suggestion.
Thank you. I'm reading that email almost every day.
Good. Is there any other question?
Yeah.
We have one in the chat from Sveti. Is there potential opportunities in a Horizon program for startup and SMEs?
Are you referring to Horizon Europe program or Cascade funding?
For
No,
Horizon,
yes,
right?
this EU program Horizon.
Well, for the Horizon Europe, the startups and SMEs are very valuable in all topics because a proposal gets also evaluated in the number of SMEs that they have in the consortium. So as long as is specified in the topic that is not for startups or SMEs, which now I cannot think of one, you can join any consortium that you would like to submit a proposal within Horizon Europe topic and in a consortium, and they will really be very keen on having you on board because of what I said. The evaluation is they take care of this SME perspective within a consortium. So the answer is yes. The opportunities are all that you can see and you can find within the topics of Horizon Europe.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone else has a question, we do not have any in the chat. I guess not. Last call for questions.
Otherwise, Marta and I will remain available, so you can contact us if you have any question as well.
Right. Thank you very much for the presentation, also for the useful tips, and we hope that many startups will remain in contact with you and they will benefit from the opportunities. So yeah, if we do not have any other questions from the startups, I think we can close it here.
Thank you very much, Denisha, for the invitation and the excellent organization.
Thank you.
And good luck to all of you with Cascade funding projects.
Okay.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.